What's going on, guys? I'm Vulkan, and today we're talking Diablo. So, a few weeks ago, Blizzcon dropped a ton of Diablo info on us. We saw a new class for Diablo 4, we learned about their open world and PvP, Diablo Immortal saw some news, and we learned that it was going to be a mobile MMO, but the largest announcement by far was the Diablo 2 Resurrected announcement. Now, this remaster of one of the greatest games in Blizzard's catalog was heavily rumored going into the convention, right? There was a lot kind of circulating going, hey, I think this is the time. This is when we're going to see that Diablo 2 remaster. And last year, so BlizzCon 2019, if I remember correctly, was when it was rumored as well. We started seeing a little bit of kind of leaked images, things like that, but now it's officially announced. We have seen gameplay, and it was really, really cool getting to actually see what the game looks like and how it performs. So to catch everyone up, Diablo 2 is coming back as a full remaster, complete with overhauled graphics, brought up to 4K, Battle.net support, cross progression, and a console port. I mean, this checks lots of boxes to modernize the game, and the game's going to be releasing on PC, PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Now, the one key thing I do want to mention, right, is that they confirmed this is not a remake. They didn't reverse engineer it or anything like that. They didn't go kind of recreate the whole thing. It's still running the Diablo 2 engine under the surface, and because of that, you can actually toggle between the original graphics and the new 4K visuals with the press of a button, just like they did in Warcraft. So if you're somebody who really likes the nostalgia, and then you can flip back to the good old-fashioned graphics, but if you really want kind of that new 2021 experience, those 4K visuals are there for you. But the largest question, right, out of this whole thing is how good will this remaster be? I mean, considering what happened with Warcraft Reforged, faith isn't exactly at an all-time high in Blizzard's ability to resurrect classics. And the other obvious question is, what will be different between this remaster and the original? Lots of players want a true one-to-one copy, while some players are okay with some quality of life improvements. And we'll be going over what exactly has changed and what Blizzard wants to do in terms of how close to the original they want to keep this thing. So tackling the first question of how good will this remaster be? So Vicarious Visions is handling the remaster, and I do have good faith in this studio. They did really good work with Destiny 2, they did good work with Crash Bandicoot. All of these things were well done and generally received well by players. So we will have to wait and see more gameplay to find out more and really kind of get our hands on the game in order to make a true determination as to whether or not this game is going to be good. But Vicarious Visions, I have a lot of faith in them particularly, so hopefully they'll knock this one out of the park, because if not, Blizzard is in for a really, really rough time between Warcraft Reforged and then a Diablo 2 fiasco. So hopefully things go super well. Okay, so let's move on to the big changes between the original Diablo 2 and this 2021 remaster. So Diablo 2 Resurrected is adding a shared stash for characters. So mules will no longer be necessary, which is going to be amazing. You can just have all of your stuff in a shared stash available to all of your characters. They're also updating the UI to have a more modern look. You can see the difference here. They tried to retain a lot of the charm from the original, but made some adjustments to improve functionality and bring it up to a more modern and crisp look. They also added auto gold pickup. And on top of all of this, they also confirmed that Diablo 2 Resurrected will have mod support, which is fantastic because Diablo has such a rich mod community, and this will keep this game around with fresh content for a long while. I mean, look at Diablo 2 like right now. There's still a healthy community playing that game regularly because of leaderboards, mods, things keeping players engaged. So I think this is a great decision on their part to continue to support mods. Now, one other key thing that was recently announced is that Diablo 2 Resurrected will allow players to import their original Diablo 2 characters. So if you still have all of your old saves, I don't know who does, but if you do, you know, have them stored away somewhere, you can continue your adventure and replay the remaster with your original adventurer, which is really, really cool. So there are definitely some questions that need to be answered around the remaster, right? Whether it's going to be successful, whether it's going to fall short, is there anything else that's truly changed that we don't know about quite yet? So right now we're gonna have to wait for more info, but I do want to kind of shift the focus a little bit and talk about the Diablo 4 PvP announcement. So Diablo 4 revealed details about open world PvP and how MMO the game's going to be. And speaking to the MMO point first, Blizzard confirmed that you might see other players in the world, but those instances should be rare. You shouldn't see hordes of other players out there questing, killing things, working on their characters. That should be something that's fairly scarce. Now, I know another game, No Man's Sky, said you're never going to see another player because the world and universe is so massive. And then within an hour of launch, 2 players had run into each other on the same planet, and it was hilarious. So they do want to maintain a certain level of isolation to help build the atmosphere. Now, there will be certain situations where you will see large gathering of other players, right? Outdoor public events, camp areas, things like that. But for the most part, don't expect it to be a World of Warcraft style experience. You're still going to feel very much alone. Now, PvP is an obvious exception to this. Throughout the world, there are clearly marked PvP areas called Fields of Hatred, and players can go out here and farm a special currency called Shards of Hatred by killing monsters or killing other players and taking their shards. Now, these shards can be used to purchase cosmetic items to show off how much of a badass you are, how many other players you've killed, don't mess with me, straight murderer, and that's all fine and dandy, but the cool thing is PvP isn't forced, right? You can walk into those fields, you can stay unflagged for PvP, farm a bag full of shards, but once you have some shards, you have to flag for PvP. It is a necessity. And then you have to find an altar to purify those shards before they can be used. So while you don't need to be flagged the entire time, you will need to flag at some point to get those shards if you want those cosmetic items. So if you're someone like myself who isn't particularly great at PvP in these type of games, you can go out, maybe group up with some friends, go farm shards without staying flagged, just killing enemies. And then once you're ready to kind of flip the switch, you can do that, purify those shards, and then turn your PvP flag off again and continue about your day. So there is a little bit of flexibility and wiggle room in terms of not doing PvP but doing PvP, so that's something that I think a lot of people will enjoy. And just to confirm, right, if you don't like PvP at all, you don't need to go into these fields. You can completely avoid them since there aren't any power items out here. It's only costume stuff. Now, PvP is something that I've seen pop up over the years that players wanted in Diablo 3, so it's nice to see it return in Diablo 4, along with the ability to collect ears from players that they've killed. They are bringing the ear collecting system back. Tagged to those ears are the names of the players that you've killed, so if you want to sit there and kind of like lord over all of your ears, you can. They're really trying to give PvP players a home and a lot of support in Diablo 4, which is great. So with Diablo 2 Resurrected coming this year and Diablo 4 coming sometime a few years later and bringing PvP back, what do you all think? What are you more excited for? The new kind of Diablo 4 that's going to maybe break the mold of Diablo 3 and take on Path of Exile 2? Or are you more excited to kind of return back to a simpler time with Diablo 2 Resurrected and really dive back into that world and relive some of those old adventures? So let me know in the comment section below, but as always, this has been Vulkan. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I will talk to you next time.